If you've ever been frustrated by a complex VLOOKUP or index match or a join statement in SQL, you're really going to love the combined table step in Parabola, and in this video, we'll be talking about some of the best practices and key concepts for successfully setting up this step. First important call out is that there are two main steps for combining data in Parabola. The one that we're going to focus on in this video is the combined table step, which you would use to add matching columns from one data set to another data set. The other step would be the stack table step, where you're actually stacking rows from one table on top of rows from another table. Whenever we're working with our combined tables step, you can always get started by connecting two arrows into this step, and as I double click, you'll see in the top left we need to define how we want to join our data together. Do we want to keep all rows from these tables, or do we only want to keep our matching rows? Just to quickly talk about some of the concepts here, we'll pull up a quick graph where you can kind of see the different approaches for joining data in Parabola. The approaches that I would say are the most common are going to be these top two up here. The first one is where we are keeping all of our rows for one data set and only finding the matching rows from our other data set. That's actually exactly what we're going to do in this example. And just to show you quickly, in this example, we have a list of orders from the past week. So you can see that these 5 customers all ordered last week. And we have another table that shows us all of our historic customers and the total amount that they spent. I don't need all of these rows of data. I only need the matching rows of data. So I'm going to say for my orders, let's actually keep all of these rows. Let's keep only the matching rows from our other table. And now we're good to go on that top section. Quickly jumping back to this slide, our other approaches here would be to only keep rows where you have a matching value between both data sets. And finally, keeping all rows from both data sets will make sure that no data is removed whether or not there is a match, and then you can do additional filtering, edit column, so on and so forth from there. The next thing that we need to set up in this step is define exactly how we want to join this data together. What are the identifiers that we're going to use to combine these? And this is usually going to be something like an ID, a SKU, an email, something along those lines. In this example, we will join from customer to customer, show updated results, and now you can see we've pulled in that new column of data here on the right-hand side. Now let's look at something a little bit more complex. Now we have a table of orders where we can see for a certain SKU, which warehouse should this order be fulfilled out of, and how many units were actually purchased on that order. Now, warehouses are obviously big. They have something called a pick location that they'll use so that someone in the warehouse knows, okay, if I'm going to get SKU 123, this is the shelf that I should go to in that warehouse. And so our other table of data here are our SKU locations. So we can see for SKU 123 in the San Francisco warehouse, you should go to pick location 32. As you can see, SKUs can exist across multiple different warehouses. In this example, it repeats 3 times. So we need to be careful that we're fulfilling the right SKU from the right location. As I get started by combining our arrows here, first thing we need to do is tell Parabola how you want to join your data. Pro tip, if you connect the arrow first for the step where you want to keep all, this will be correct every time. So I'm keeping all rows from orders. I'm finding only my matches from SKU locations. That part's all good to go. Now I need to set up my keys. So if I go from SKU to SKU, show updated results, we're going to see we run into some errors here. We started with 15 rows, 15 orders, right? Now we have 25 rows. We don't want to be shipping out more than we have to. Why did this happen? Because this SKU value found multiple matches in our other table, and so as a result, you can now see that this order number repeated in the data set. Definitely don't want that. Reason is because we didn't take warehouse into account. So now if we go ahead and add, hey, we also need warehouse, we need to join it based on warehouse, show updated results, still not quite right. Now you'll see we went from 25 to 87 rows of data here. Reason is because right now we're looking at where any of these values match. So there's a whole bunch of matches that you can make based on skew, there's a bunch that you can make based on warehouse, and it's just making our data set a whole lot bigger than we want it to be at this stage. The change here is looking for where all of these match, and so now instead of this order matching across multiple rows in this data set, it's only going to match where the skew and the warehouse are both matching. And so if I show updated results, you'll see we're left with a data set that accurately shows 15 rows of data, and we can see all of our pick locations nice and cleanly pulled in here. Now that we have covered some of the foundational concepts around combining tables, would encourage you to play around with some of the different settings, and the more you use the step, the more comfortable you'll become.